Hey everybody, welcome back to Speaking of Schmoedown, a sports talk show devoted to the movie trivia Schmoedown. I am Jay Wade, and as usual, we got our numbers guy over here, the math wizard of this show, Double D, Dan Dolinsky. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. We just got a couple of days ago, we had Kristian on here, so it's always fun to talk to Kristian, and I'm still basking from that. So
yeah, good. For sure. And first time guest co-hosting on this show from Let's Get Ready Network, we got ASG. How you doing, bud?
Doing well. Nice to be here.
Great, thank you. This was a last minute thing for you too. Really appreciate it, man. Thank you very much. Before we get too into anything, I do want to do a quick reminder here off the top that we will be playing stereo comments. We will not be taking any comments specifically for Laura Kelly or during her interview, but here at the beginning of the show, for about the first 20 minutes or so and about the last 15 minutes or so, we will be playing those comments here live on the show, questions, whatever you want to say. Also, you can, if you could please subscribe to this YouTube channel, help us get some more subs. It's almost a crime, as Frenchie says, that we don't have more subs. It's the Jcast Network on YouTube, also on Twitter at the Jcast Network, and on stereo at the Jcast Network, because this show now plays on YouTube Live at the same time as we do on stereo. We cracked the code. Another thing Frenchie likes to say, which I like it too, and we're proud of that one. Now, what was it? Forgive me, when we're prepping for the show, I half hear things. What was the announcement that was made about was it free for all? Yeah.
You want? Okay, I'll take it. So basically, the free-for-all winner will not be getting 3 points for winning the free-for-all. It'll just be 1 point for the MVP, who will not be getting a number one contender shot. They will only be getting the 1 point for being MVP, and then the winner will get the title shot, but will not be getting any faction points.
Now, can one of y'all explain to me the benefit of the benefit of doing that, or why it's being done?
Well, here's the thing. So let's take, I think, the very first free-for-all where Sam Levine and Tom Dagnino came in, and Sam Levine won. If that happened today, Sam would get 3 points and a title shot, and then he's going on to face whoever he wants to face for the title shot. It would be Dan Murrell in that scenario. And he could potentially earn another 7 points, which would add up to 10 points total. Whereas now it's title shot, and he gets to potentially earn the 7 points, which is almost double than which is more. We're worth more. So you still get the bulk of the points at the title match, but yeah, it makes more sense because it's like you're getting both 3 points and the title match. It really makes more sense because you're really getting a title match from straight up. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to go like three matches over. You have to go straight to win that title match. You get it right up front. So I think this is a lot better situation than presenting both 3 points and a title shot.
But what could be interesting is that you don't need to take that title shot. I think Dan Murrell used it for the Founding Fathers, and it could even go further. You could use it for somebody on your faction to have a title shot, and then you'd be getting no points, and they'd be the one going for the 7. You never know.
Yeah, this is all going to be very interesting. Sorry to cut you off, Dan. We've got a couple messages here. Want to get to them right away.
I want to know what you guys think about everything going on in the world right now. I'm hearing a lot of weird shit. Like, people think that this is the depopulation, the Great Reset.
Sorry, this is not that show, buddy. This is about movie trivia. I'm sorry if maybe that was going to lead into some Schmoedown stuff, and there was a big buildup. If so, I very much so apologize. But it sounded like a current events, a worldwide kind of the world's going to hell kind of a thing, and this is not that show.
Yeah, the new season reset all the scores. I think that's all he was talking about.
Oh, are you being serious?
No.
Oh my gosh. I just felt super bad. I was like, I did not hear something there.
No.
Man. Oh, man. Here's the next one.
Hey, I just followed both of you guys because you sound pretty fucking awesome and shit. So, I don't know. Give me a follow back. That'd be great.
I will do so after the show. Thank you very much. Obviously new here. What we're doing is this is a sports talk show devoted to an elite movie trivia league that mixes in elements of professional wrestling, MMA, that kind of stuff. It's very exciting. There are characters, there are heels and faces, but the trivia is real, my friend, and the questions are unbelievably hard. So check it out if you've not heard of it before. The movie trivia Schmoedown. If you like any of those things I just mentioned, I think you would like that.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Hope you're all having a great weekend so far. Dagan here. Just wanted to ask, I don't know if you guys know the answer to this, but so the MVP for the free-for-all will also get 1 point. Now, in the past, the MVP has also gotten, I think, a number one contender match, not a title shot, but a chance to play in a number one contender match. Do you guys know if that's the case this season or not, or do you think it should be? Just curious to hear your all thoughts on that.
As of right now, Kristian said on Facebook that will not be happening.
Okay. See, I'm still trying to get used to the. I think I finally got it into my head this morning that I am not going to look at this like a traditional sport. I have to find some sort. There has to be a middle ground here somewhere, and I'm trying very hard, and I'm gonna really try to open my mind. So I'm staying away from some questions that concern opinions on things like that, because it could very well change, because I'm still learning how it all works, and I should probably know and understand at least how it works. Like Kristian said the other day, I didn't understand what he was saying, and you'll hear a little bit later. We've got a clip from that, it's about time. That's our producer Frenchie back behind the scenes. There has to be a middle ground, and I really should. I should at least halfway understand things before I go too deep into a stance. I'm going to work on that, guys. So, Dan, what do you think about what Dagan was saying? Do you have anything to add? Obviously, ASG answered.
Well, I mean, it's 1 point. I mean, you do. Let's say we have what happened with the horror free for all, where Adam Collins and Mark Hoyt won both. They earned 4 points. Well, now your faction will still earn points if that happens again this season, or where two competitors from the same division are both MVP and the winner. Your faction still earns points. So there is a benefit, and yes, there's no more number one contender shot, and I could take it or leave it. It's not that big of a, but it's something. But hey, you're still, at least in that scenario, your faction is still getting points in that scenario. So that's how I feel.
Yeah, in my opinion, if you're going to take out the number one contender shot, maybe you should up the MVP to 3 points. Being MVP in a 40-person free-for-all, I think, especially, you think about Bibiani running the table from one all the way to the end. You feel like that should be worth more than 1 point in some fashion. So I kind of lean more towards it being more points, but if you're not going to do the number one contender shot, but I also don't think the faction's going to win by 3 points or 2 points. So
no. And I also want to say real quick to the gentleman, if you're still listening, who just subscribed or just followed us, you know what? Why don't you let us know if you are a movie fan? Send us a comment. Let us know what some of your favorite movies are. Let us know do you like Star Wars? Do you like comic book kind of movies? Or do you just like movies in general? And depending on what you say, if you care to answer, we'll give you some names. We'll recommend some players to check out within those divisions and whatnot. And everyone else on stereo, feel free to keep bringing in those comments. And we've got another one right now.
Well, thanks for clearing that up, ASG. I'm not on Facebook, so I appreciate you sharing info from that. I'm not so sure. I no disrespect to Christian and some of these rule changes, but it almost feels like Bibiani coming in there and running the gauntlet. I think that should be worth more than a point. I don't know. It's interesting, but I respect the league's final decisions, but not so sure about that one.
Any thoughts?
Well, at that point in time, Bibbs had the benefit of having a number one contender shot along with that 1 point. And yeah, I do kind of feel that should have been maybe a little bit more. But, I mean, he still had the number one contender shot, which was probably more beneficial for him. But I think this is just something that needs to be.
Hey, I actually wanted to give thoughts. Why I'm thinking is because they want to balance, right? They want to make sure that there's no faction that has almost like won the whole thing, and there's like 2 months left, right? So there is a balance and a logical reason to really try to adjust the points, because they have to do a prediction of how certain scenarios point wise with the system they put in place, and I think that's them just tweaking it to make sure it doesn't go too overboard, right? But at the same time, I find if you do that whole free-for-all, then win the championship, it is worth 10 points. It really is, because it brings a whole storyline to it. It brings a value to that player, and the chances of it happening are slimmer than higher, right? There is still chances, but I don't think there's going to be 4 or 5 times happening that way. But they don't want to take a chance and play it safe. But I think it's a tweak that was necessarily one that was about to happen for sure, so they had to change it. It's more of we're going to change it in case of, and for me, it's not as important to do so.
Let me pitch a compromise. Let's say whoever wins the free-for-all, they get the title match. What if that title match they choose, whatever happens, they say, yeah, I want to use the free-for-all for this title match. What if that title match is worth 10 points? So that way both the champion, whoever it is, and the number one contender could earn 10 points at equally. Would that be something that's worth a compromise?
I don't know about the belt holder getting extra points just because he's playing the free-for-all winner, who may or may not be, maybe they were that last pick that you were talking about and just got lucky for a couple wins, and now the belt holder, is getting that edge of playing them instead of like somebody who quote unquote earned their way more than free-for-all winner. But I don't know.
It's ever involving.
Yeah.
That just came into my mind.
Okay, and just also as another thing, I wasn't around last year when they were making these free-for-all announcements that got canceled last year, but there was a proposed idea last year that the MVP would be able to, in a future match, put up spinners, or sorry, not put up, get a spinners or opponent's choice in a future match instead of like the number one contender shot. I don't know. It was a interesting idea that I just first heard of this morning. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that.
On that specifically, I don't, but I've got a brilliant idea that I don't understand why no one's ever picked up on. All of the factions and all of the players should all have the equal amount of matches to make it 100% fair. You know what I mean? To even it out and stuff.
You're making sure Christian listens to your show. Is that what?
That was purely for me trying to get a rise out of my producer. I was looking at nothing but him in the back, and he did not flinch whatsoever until just now. But no, I have changed my mind on that one for sure. Do want to say one more time, go ahead and give us a follow on the stereo at the Jcast Network, and please sub to this channel. I think, Dan, were you about to say something else there? I'm sorry if I cut you off.
No, that actually I said everything I needed to say.
All right, cool. I had also just thought of something that I wanted to bring up. but it slipped my mind. It slipped my mind.
Read the comment, Jay. Wait,
Could the free-for-all winner get his or her pick at whatever championship they choose to go after?
Yes. It could be in singles. It could be in teams. It could be IG, and they could also transfer that over to whoever they want. I mean, we saw that with Brian Channel when she won the free-for-all. We saw Mike. We saw Ken. We saw everybody saying, "Hey, Brian, we're friends. Let's why don't you give that to me so I could win it?" So yeah, you can transfer the free-for-all championship to whoever you want, and they can go for whatever title match they want.
But I did clarify with Kristian on Facebook this morning that it is not a tradable asset.
Oh, okay.
In case people wanted to get really creative.
In my mouth.
Yeah.
Real quick, I just thought of something, and this random things pop into my head all the time. ASG, you're in the fantasy league, the Schmoes of the North Fantasy League, right? But you are not in the casual division, correct?
I don't believe so. No,
Okay,
I'm in the Opal League, whatever that is considered.
Okay, so Dan and I are in the casual division, and I'm obsessed with the fantasy league stuff, and just thinking about these matches. Hey Dan, is there any way that you would want to talk later on about a trade? I would very much like to pick up Saul.
Don't do it. Don't do it. I'm telling you, don't.
What are you doing?
If you're revealing who you want from me, you better. I will listen, but you have to give me someone of value.
Someone of value.
Someone
of value.
Because he's kind of my top IG in my opinion. So you have to give me like a very top tier IG player for Saul.
IG.
Specifically, yeah.
Yeah, I thought Frenchie was coming in to start talking because I took Chandru in round 2 and he got Mara in like round 4. So
yeah, I ended up getting my first 4 picks in the first 2 rounds. I got Merle Kalinowski, Alex Damon, and Ace Cabrera. So, and then Double D there snagged up Saul. We're gonna have to talk about that.
You might have some players I might. You might have a player I might want. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I've got one I'd be willing to trade, and it might surprise you.
All right.
Yeah.
Maybe we can make a deal.
Again, for you folks on stereo, be free, or feel free rather, to send in those comments. Again, we will not take any comments during Laura Kelly's interview, but after that, we will be taking some more. Is there anything else you guys wanted to say before we roll on to the sexy numbers?
I'm good.
Oh, wait. We just got a comment.
Okay.
Let's do it real quick.
That comment.
The Laura Kelly match. I watched last night. It was amazing. Molly Damon played like a champ. Only missed 2 questions. Hashtag fired up.
Oh.
Hashtag what?
Fired up, I think.
If you
Yeah, from the SEN.
yesterday, you would know the hashtag fired up.
This. Mara, after seeing live today.
Oh, yeah?
I missed that part.
Mara
was fired up. That's all I heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mara SEN live. Yeah, that was very quiet, but he enjoyed the match between Laura Kelly and Molly Damon. Got that for sure. Right now, guys, we are going to move on to Double D's sexy numbers. And Dan, what do you got for us this week?
Well, if you were paying attention, if you are up to date, this will spoil the matches that have just been released on YouTube. So for the first match with Laura Kelly and Molly Damon, Laura won. So that gained So we can pull up the graphic. The first graphic, please. Yes, so if that earned Swag 4 points. However, the dungeon and Mara Kanopik managed to get back the IG belt and took it away from Chandru, so that earned the dungeon 7 points, which puts the dungeon in first place as of right now. Who has said? Mark it on your calendar. The dungeon is in first place, people. And Swag, they are behind in second place. So let's move on to the next graphic where we can see where the rest of the factions are going to stand till March 26th. So corruption will still have obviously corruption, FinStock Exchange, Quirky Mercs, the Stars, the Den, usual suspects. They haven't played any matches yet, but so they still stay the same if you remember from weeks prior. But corruption still has a high of 16 with a low of -5, and they could still have a. I predict that they'll be they'll end the month between 11 points and 0 points. Swag, they move up, and no matter what happens with Swag, they have 3 more matches. They will at least be in the black. They will have at least 1 point as a low, but they can go as high as 14 points. But I would say that they will probably be somewhere between 11 and 4 points. FinStock Exchange has a high of 13 points with a low of -4, and they could probably most likely be somewhere between 9 and 0 points. The Quirky Mercs have a high of -22 points and a low of -5, and they'll most likely end up in between 17 and 0 points. The Stars have a high of 24 points and a low of -5, and will most likely end up somewhere between 19 and 0 points. The Den has a high of 17 points and a low of -5 points, and will probably end up somewhere between 12 and 0 points. The Usual Suspects have a high of 14 points and a low of -4 points, and will most likely end up somewhere between 10 and 0 points. The Dungeon, who is in record-breaking first place, they have a high of 18 points and a low of 4 points. So what that means is no matter what happens now, the dungeon will be in the black. They will not have negative points at the end of March. But most likely they'll probably end somewhere between 15 and 7 points. And we can clear that out now. And so, ASG, what do you think?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this?
So that's where they'll end March, likely. Is that what the?
Most likely, wherever you see that bar, that's where most likely they'll be. Maybe they'll be somewhat above, maybe a little bit below, but most likely that's where they'll end up.
Okay, that's very interesting. And the crazy thing about those numbers is, only one person can win the Star Wars title, so one's going to end up here, one's going to end up down here.
Yeah, but you know what? The thing is even if they get 0 points, we're looking at the faction overall.
Right.
So we're not focusing on one specific player. We're looking at the whole.
Oh yeah, I meant high end of the bar versus low end of the bar.
Yeah.
Interesting. So I mean, I don't know. With only those 2 matches, there's a whole lot of season to go. So
Yeah, I mean, because this is just till the end of March, March 26th specifically.
Okay, so it doesn't include the Damon
versus.
versus.
This doesn't include any matches that Kristian has made up on SEN or on his show on Stereo or with us. It's only till the end of March because that's what's available on the schedule. And basically, I'll make the predictions for April once the schedule gets released, and then you'll start seeing where they fall for April, and then we go on and on till the end of the season, and then we'll say this is where most likely who's going to win, because if with corruption specifically, like last season, corruption was up here, Swag was like right here. And their high was like right here. So it's like they had no margin for error. So as soon as Winston lost the Star Wars match, corruption won. So that's why I broke it on our show the very first week that if Winston loses that match, it's over for corruption. Corruption will win, and I kind of predicted that. And let alone I was right. But the interesting thing is, when you look at these graphs overall towards the end of the season, I noticed that Roxy and Shannon could benefit from each other, and that's why I'm like, holy shit, Roxy and Shannon need each other in order to actually benefit from each other. That blew my mind. So obviously this is early in the season. They're just laying the groundwork. But it actually is exciting to actually see these results in real time and seeing where it progresses.
Okay. But it ends that last, let's say, full week of March. Like Kristian announced that the last day of March is going to be Alex Damon versus Barbarian for the winner plays the IG. That's not factored in there.
That is not factored in. It's
okay.
Whatever was available on the website before the season started, that's what's factored in. So anything that was announced after that, so now or last week, those are not factored in.
Yeah, I think that was announced on this show in what Jay will play later. It was, I think, part of that interview.
Yeah, he announced Kalinowski. I have it in my notes. Okay, so he announced Kalinowski versus Damon versus Barbarian, which was a number 1 contender match. I did take notes.
Oh, now I remember. He announced on the Facebook group that was a March match, and then this was going to be what you just said is what he announced on the show. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I guess we're.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Dan. And that's what I'm looking forward to as each month progresses, getting those numbers and getting the updates on everything. But now, everybody, we're bringing in that schmo from the north, Frenchie.
Well,
how are you, sir? And how is the wee one there? Hello.
Hello, this is, again, second appearance of Luna Jade, San Manette, and for this edition, we're going to be 2 Frenchies corner, because technically she's a Frenchie. All right. Yeah, for today's Frenchies corner, I'll let you, like usual, the ticker talk. What is the criteria for Mount Rushmore of Schmoedown? We got heated. We got heated, Mr. J. Wade, over the subject, and it's definitely something we definitely need to argue, because I really, really don't understand where your brain goes somewhere on, especially on this subject. I'm gonna start with me, okay? For me, Mount Rushmore is so easy. Like, okay, top 4. It's just an expression to mean the best of the best.
Yes.
Okay, in all aspects. It doesn't have to be a specific criteria that you know, it has to be this and only this, and if they don't fit in this category, it does not work. It's almost like a Hall of Fame. Who would you put in a Hall of Fame? And for me, that is character work, history, events, like specific moments, right, that really stand out. Like for me, Bibiani's Mount Rushmore went up because of the whole free-for-all thing. That adds something to the Mount Rushmore. So it's less about a list of top 4 people that are the best of the best in just trivia. It's everything. Go ahead.
Well,
and the most
now
time to annoy him.
Everything, but the other night on your stereo show, which brought this all up for me, you were actually. I can't focus.
And I told her to speak as much as she can to break her focus. So she's up my team. All right.
No, you were, dude. You were putting Josh McCouga on Mount Schmoedown.
Yeah,
is what I call it, Mount Schmoedown, Mount Rushmore of Schmoedown, whatever. I'm sorry, but there's no way. I love McCouga. He's great. He started out the beginning, but you have to have a balance of both characters.
His guessing game. He created the guessing game.
Yeah, but what you guys were saying the other night, y'all agreed on 3, and then we're debating the 4th, and you straight up were putting McCouga on there above Kevin Smets. Because I even said, I'm like, dude, Kevin Smets has the character work, and he has the backup with the knowledge and the the competition aspect, the gameplay. Makuga has the character work, and he's a hell of a guesser. How can you put him over Kevin Smets?
Because he has the OG factor. That's what I'm saying. This is not like he's bumping out Kevin Smets, right? For me, Mount Rushmore are maybe a list of like 10, 12 people for different factors, okay? And you probably just understand it as if you choose Makuga, Smets is not on that list, which is not for me Mount Rushmore. It's a very personal thing.
Because you were wanting to put Makuga on there, so I was using an example like you would put Makuga on there over Smets.
I'm not. That's the thing. I am not. I am not putting him over Smets. For me,
what
my
does
Rob
OG have to do with it? Just because someone's OG does, like, there are all kinds of OG rappers.
Okay, so you're saying you wouldn't put a couple OG wrestlers in that couldn't keep up in today's age, even at a young age. There's some of them are not that good if you would have put them today, but still because they started in the 70s, 80s, the early moments of the beginnings of it has a prestige, and they go in the Hall of Fame anyways. So that's why I'm saying that OG thing is you can't go back. You can't recreate Schmoedown. The OG people of Schmoedown deserve a special place, especially people like Makuga, because he created in a certain way character work. He created those moments like, holy shit, did he be like Andreko
himself when he's out hanging out at the bar with his friends? There is no character work there.
Bro.
Okay, dude, look, say in my hometown, there are two fencing companies. Okay? One of them makes the straightest and the most level and most beautiful fences you've ever seen in your life. They have perfected the art of making fences. The other guy's been there for 50 years longer than the new guy who does it better, but because the other guy's been there for 50 years, his crooked ass fences that are unlevel and look like shit should take precedence, and he should be the one to get the key to the city. You've got to be killing. You're crazy, dude. You're killing me.
No, I'm not, because again, it's for you. And this is very personal. I'm not saying this is a definitive list. What you're basically doing is attacking my definition of Mount Schmoedown.
Well, and you're putting character work over someone who would do You're putting character work and longevity, like how long they've played, over anyone else who has got the character work and the higher competition aspect.
You are saying I'm excluding him. I'm not. I haven't done my full list. I'm just saying he's part of it. So again, I understand your argument, but you're going on your perception of what my Mount Schmoedown is when you don't even understand it fully. So how can you argue something you don't understand fully? Dude, one day I will do my list. One day I will do my list, my friend.
Sit on your porch with your lemonade in your rocking chair and enjoy looking at that crooked ass fence, dude.
I definitely will, my friend. I definitely will. All right, so let's go on to the second one. And this was submitted by our own Apple Dan. Should speed rounds go back to the old format where student matches resume? I say I never liked the buzzer format. I'm not saying keep it to the original format we have online, because they could find a way, but it becomes complicated, especially in live events. You would have to, give earphones to one of the players for them not to hear, or you have to find a way to block out. And especially live, it's going to be hard. But I think they can transform it into something else, because for me, I don't like it. Buzzers can be defective. The person calling the shots is only human. And it's sport, right? Referees make mistakes. I get it. But if there's a better way to do it, now we have like a bit like two formats. We can find like a Franken format and make it just the ultimate speed round we've ever seen. That's what I want to do. So I want them to evolve it. Don't go back to buzzer.
Okay, I have nothing heated to say in this discussion. I do disagree with you, but I got an idea to go along with it, so I'm not just going to disagree with you for disagreement's sake, although that is fun, and I have done it. Luna, she's so cute, I can't focus, man. I can't argue. Maybe that's a sign that you were afraid. that you were going to lose, and you had to bring in your adorable baby to distract me. So that she's smiling too. You talked to her about it before y'all started. But on to this here. I don't care for the buzzer thing either, and the only reason I don't is because for me that is making a trivia contest into a matter of reflexes. And it's just kind of like this is not a physical type of a competition. I do like the idea of them having the same questions to answer, the same amount of time, and not knowing what the other ones have asked. I really like that because to me that puts it on a true level playing field of where it's just flat out fair, 100%. Now, with live events or in studio matches, I would be completely down for having a down booth, and one person goes and sits in the booth. But hold on, to make it a little more interesting, well, one, when they ask the questions, they ask the questions in different orders. Okay. And the reason for doing that is because, say we're playing each other and I'm in the booth and you're answering questions. I have a little screen where I can see how many questions you've gotten right. But I have no idea what order, so I don't know what questions you got right. I think that would add some more drama and some more pressure, as opposed to me just going, I'm going to go in there and do my thing. I don't know how they did. I'm going in there going, dude, Frenchie got 9 out of 10 right. I don't know which ones they were, and I won't because they weren't in the same order. And it gives you that pressure where, like, I have to get this many right or I'm screwed. I think it just adds more to it.
Yeah, I actually like that idea. Having that extra. Again, are you creating though extra pressure where you shouldn't? Because you like a fair game, right? So right now you're actually kind of adding this extra thing that the first competitor won't have. Right? Because he'll see the results, but he's not going to have the pressure of, oh shit, I have to live up to those results. So you have to think about how you're affecting the player's brain, the first player who's in a booth. If you do that, it is a really good idea, but does it create a disadvantage, an extra stress that the other person doesn't have? So you have to put that into consideration.
Very good point. And to answer that, I would call it would be different pressure. It wouldn't be the same pressure, but as the person going first, you know that you better damn well get them all or near all of them. The pressure is still on. You have to set the bar, and you have to set it high. And that's a great amount of pressure. Then the person that goes after you, their pressure is, now I see how high the bar is. I've got to get over. So that's how I would respond to that. Very fair point, and that's how I would take care of that. Or explain that, because you got pressure on both sides.
And Lulu, do you have anything to add? Anything at all? No? Okay. She agrees with us.
Yeah. That it for Frenchie's Corner?
Yes, sir.
All right. And it's not Maple Dan. It's ASG who's going to give his take.
Yes, apparently.
Yeah.
We have Apple Dance on so often that at one point I just leave it there. All right.
All right. What do you guys think about what Frenchie and I just talked about?
Okay, so let me get to the speed round. So I posed this question because I like how I learned to grow. The current format is growing on me, but I definitely think that there could be some improvements. It's no secret that this new speed round is very familiar to the Family Feud Fast Money round. So if we're like for live events, why don't we just go full on Family Feud Fast Money round and keep the format, but we do a different strategy. We have different questions where it's really vague, and you have to come up with like a vague answer. Like let's say like name a Generation 1 Pokemon that's a fire type, and you have to name like Charizard, and then your opponent says like, Charmeleon. It creates a little bit more stress because it takes a little bit more strategy, because now you can't go for the higher, the most common answer. You have to kind of go with like, okay, more vague details.
Uh,
And I think that could be a good.
I'm lost on that of like how that would work in a final round or like in a championship format, like where you need people to get points and questions correct, and
Yeah, but I mean, what you can do is like go full. This I would think this would be more for like live events, and you can. What they do is with Family Feud is that they take a survey and they kind of compile that data together, see where like out of 100 people, this person out of 100 people, you award the higher amount of points to the person. Again, this is just an idea that I had. I'm saying that I'm right. I'm just saying that this is what I thought.
Okay.
And I would think you just do a survey and you would award points based on what is most common amongst that survey of people that you have surveyed.
I don't know. I think that changes the game way too much, for my opinion.
Okay.
At least with Jay's and Frenchie's strategy, they are staying, still on the getting trivia questions correct, not polling the audience, or where there is a specific correct answer.
Yeah.
I liked the buzzer format. I don't know if it's mostly Ben Bateman, but it's that theory of you're not just buzzing in when you know the answer. You're buzzing in when you think you will know the answer by the time you buzz in. Like it's not, and also that you are purposely buzzing in maybe before you get all the information because you want to buzz in before the other person does. So I don't subscribe to the physical aspect that people talk about. But in terms of the new digital, what Jay suggested certainly would give a reason for the person in the lead to decide whether or not to go first or second, like whether or not that pressure would get to them or whether they'd want to know how many they need to get right to keep the score is where it is.
All right. Well, so let's talk about Mount Schmoedown. Now, this is a very wide debate because you have your favorite character, you have your favorite players. I did have like last week where I had a bell curve of like who was the best, who's considered whose averages was better amongst the whole population of each division. Now, you could expand upon that with the whole league, but that could get a little problemsome when you're talking about teams. But that's another debate. But let's just stick with like singles, just to make things simple. So right now, I would say, Dan, I would say that bell curves are considered one piece of evidence for considering who's going to be on that Mount Rushmore, who's that Rushmore title. But you would have to consider like how many titles that they would have to win, how many did they defend the belt, did they play in other divisions, like overall. So I wouldn't know how.
I don't know. My definition of Mount Schmoedown isn't about titles, though. Dan stepped away for the league, and I think you have to put that into your discussion of whether or not he'd be on Mount Schmoedown as opposed to your best players of all time.
Okay.
My Mount Schmoedown includes Kristian Harloff. I don't, so it's.
But he's won the belts.
No. I mean, in terms of what being the founder of the league.
Okay.
Even if he hasn't done anything. So it's really what you're not talking. You didn't say your top 4 players, your top 5 players. You said Mount.
But I said like that's one piece of evidence. I'm not saying that that's the end all be all. I'm saying that should be one piece of evidence to look at. Now maybe what they have done in the league overall, I think that should be more of a weighted factor. But Kristian should be up there because yes, he founded it. He's the one who created this, and he's the one that's improving it every season. And yeah, so I agree with you that Kristian should be up there. And yes, we are pandering to the chairman. I know he's listening. So, but
So to either of you, is Alex Damon on your Mount Schmoedown, and what would it take for him to be if not?
At this point in time, I don't see him on it. Nothing against him. There are just so many others that I see on it. Make it quick, Dan. We got
maybe for like Star Wars Mount Rushmore, but sure. I would say you would have to play a little bit more because he's only focused on that one division.
Yep.
That's just my opinion.
And with that, everybody, Frenchie's Corner is completely wrapped up. And now Laura Lights Out Kelly, everyone. Laura Kelly, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm even more delighted to hear that Alex Damon isn't on anyone's Mount Rushmore. That kind of kills me.
You would be on there before him any and every day of the week, in my opinion. So
thank you,
there's
sir.
no question. But thank you very much for your time today. Really appreciate it. You had a hell of a match against Molly Damon last week. And I was just wondering, could you give us some insight into your thought process as you were preparing for that match?
Well, I kind of hit a breaking point with this whole pandemic thing. Being in Chicago, I think we had like 10 days straight of snow where I like didn't leave my apartment, can't go for a walk, like can't working from home. Like it was just a mess. And so I kind of last minute decided I just needed to get out of here. And for the last couple of days of studying, like leading up to the match, I actually went and stayed in a hotel for a few days just to like fully eliminate all distractions. The main distraction being like the refrigerator. So that was nice to like be able to get away, be in my own space for a little bit, just see different walls that I've been stuck seeing for a while. So that was kind of nice. My process, other than that, really hasn't changed much though in the last 3 years. For the most part, it's been pretty consistent. The methods that I use, the things that I study, it's just kind of constantly building and getting to be a more like robust database, I guess.
But we've enjoyed that this nice week of good weather, 40-degree weather. It's like summer now.
Exactly.
So, because I'm in from Chicago too, just so you know.
Oh.
So my question is during your match, I think it was in round 1. It was the question where what did Anakin call Qui-Gon in Phantom Menace? I don't know. I'm paraphrasing, obviously. Now the answer was the actual quote in the movie is, "You're a Jedi Knight." Molly said Jedi Knight, and you said Jedi. Was that kind of like were you nervous at that, where Molly may have challenged that, or you may have lost a point because of that at any point?
No, I think the question was, what did Anakin say he was going to be and come back and free all the slaves on Tatooine? And I don't remember. I actually meant to like look this up after the match, and I haven't gone back yet. I'm not sure what exactly he says. At first, I wrote down pilot, and then I erased it because I couldn't think of what the answer was, and went with Jedi. But if I recall, I feel like Mark hesitated a little bit in telling her that Jedi Knight was correct. So I fully don't know. I actually need to go look into that.
Yeah, because I watched it a couple of weeks ago, so I may have maybe you're right. I obviously you lived it, so maybe I'm wrong about the question. So, but yeah.
Okay, so my question, this might get into the weeds a little, but your match against Molly was very similar to a lot of the other Star Wars matches, where it seems you have to go perfect in order to win the match. Do you like that aspect of Star Wars, or would you rather, if it's possible, the questions would be harder so that maybe you might have a little more room for error?
Honestly, I do kind of wish. That's hard to say. I mean, I liked this sort of caliber of the question that we had this year in this first match of the year. I do wish there was a little bit more room for error so that I had the freedom to like have just maybe one brain fart in the match and just completely forget like what somebody said to whom. I would love to have a little bit of wiggle room in that sense. But honestly, it's fun to like go perfect. It feels good. So I really I can't complain too much. It's always kind of nice to have that stress lifted of not having to answer my 5-point question. As curious as I always am, I'm always tempted to be like, can somebody just tell me what it was just so I can know if I know that that's not allowed. But yeah, for the most part, it's kind of fun. It just sucks that, yeah, like last season, the thing that took me out of the entire year was just one dumb 1-pointer answer that I answered for a round 1 question. So that kind of sucked, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I would add to that where, it's kind of prepping you for Alex, because, Alex, we've seen that he is almost perfect. There is like maybe he's this much room for error, but it does kind of prep you a little bit to prepare for Alex because he's almost perfect. So I would say that it's prepping you a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think most of the matches that I've seen him play have been almost perfect, if not perfect. So yeah, it's definitely something to aspire to.
And we were just talking about hard questions just a second ago. The question Dan had asked about. I just wondered, thinking back, is there a specific question that you can tell us that you had that was the most difficult for you to get right? A question that you got right, but it just was the hardest one, and you really had to try and pull it out.
I mean, without having to like think back on it, I don't watch my old matches very much. They're written out for me somewhere, all the questions, but I honestly, it's kind of hard to come up with one. That I almost want to say that John Ratzenberger quote or the name that I had against Sean Sullivan last year, that was like an answer I was just like pretty proud of. And I kind of thought the same, I almost made the same error that he did, where I wasn't fully sure what the last name was. And so I kind of took a shot in the dark, and I was like, no, I think there's an ER on the end. And ended up getting it right. So besides that, it's hard to sort of pinpoint what the hardest question I've had was, because a lot of times I kind of black out on, like, I just don't remember, on my matches all that clearly.
Yeah, in the heat of the moment, and then I don't even know how many, probably well over 100, 150 questions you've probably been asked in your total career in Schmoedown, I would imagine. So yeah, that I just thought I'd take a shot in the dark.
All right, so Laura, we had a bit of a debate a couple of weeks back where should the Star Wars division include like all of canon, and I want to kind of, obviously we all kind of agreed that all of canon should be included to kind of give everyone a bit of a range, but I'm going to rephrase the question a little bit, where would you rather have just movies and shows, or would you rather have all of canon included in the Star
I mean, I
Wars?
certainly don't want all of canon. I mean, that's, like, that would include like video games and comics, which are two things that I have no interest in. So that would be a no for me for sure. If it was TV shows, that's a little bit easier to wrap my mind around, but I don't know if I would do all that well on it, because I think I would pressure myself into going as in depth with the shows as I do with the movies, thinking that I have to, even though I probably wouldn't need to. And it would be life consuming. And I don't know if it would be worth my time, to be totally honest. So I'm kind of happy to just leave it the way it is and just do movies. As much as I love the Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels, I don't have any interest in watching Star Wars Resistance, so I don't really want that included. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with bringing in other media.
Okay.
Yeah. Plus, I'll reiterate what I've said before. It's called the movie trivia Schmoedown, not the TV show trivia Schmoedown, not the comic book or video game trivia Schmoedown. And until they change that, you literally can't add anything but movies, in my opinion. But real quick, we have a question here from the YouTube here, a good one. Laura, would you prefer triple threat championship match or heads up against Damon or Demolanta for the championship?
That's hard to say. I think it would definitely be more intimidating to have the two of them up there, but at the same time, it would just be so efficient to be able to like take both of them out at one time. But yeah, I think for sure it's a little bit easier to like go one at a time. So if that ends up being the case, which it sounds like that's what it's going to be, that's totally fine. Let them duke it out with each other first, and then I'll take whatever's left.
So as a follow-up to that, would you rather Demolanta beat Damon and then have that rematch already taken care of that you don't need to be bothered with, or would you rather Damon still be undefeated going into your match where you'd have to beat him twice?
It's hard to say. I kind of would rather just get it all over with in one instead of having to wait any longer. I feel like I'm pretty studied up at the moment. And I can kind of maintain that as best I can, but it would be great to just have it sooner rather than later. I would rather not have to wait any longer than I have to, but at the same time, it's like, well, I've gotten studied up on little notice before. I can do it again. I just am kind of hoping that this is just, it doesn't get dragged out. You know what I mean?
Okay. So yeah, just another question that's come on a different topic. We were talking about the other canon, and now that we have these Dragon Con players as well as all sorts of additional rookies. Are you excited to play these new rookies, or are you just more concentrated on the championship match, and when they come, or is there anybody you're like really interested to play in upcoming, whenever that might be?
I'm more focused on the match that I have upcoming at the moment. I'm really curious to see them play. I'm not super eager to play them myself. I kind of wanted I would like to be a witness first, just to kind of see how they do, and be able to sort of study how they do. So I think that's where I land on that. I wouldn't be opposed to playing one of them. I would definitely welcome the challenge, but at this point, I think I would gain more from being able to sort of sit back and watch them play some of the other players and let the other players in this division play. I've already gotten to play once this year, and I've already guaranteed a shot to play again. So I would say, let somebody else take a whack at them.
Hey, there you go. Yeah, I just had one of those brain fart moments.
Relatable.
I've been holding it in my head for about 2 minutes, and it just went right out of my head. One of you guys got something real quick?
Do you have something? Otherwise,
I remembered my question from your last time you were here. It's about Star Wars in general, so it's nothing to do with Schmoedown, so you're safe. So I like Ahsoka. I learned to love Ahsoka through the Clone Wars. I didn't like it in the movie, but I like. And the first time I saw Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka, I liked everything except one tiny little nitpick. It's the voice. Every time I've been kind of conditioned to hear Ashley Epstein's voice every time I see Ahsoka. And when I heard Rosario Dawson, it kind of took me out a little bit. I'm not saying I hated it. I'm just saying it just took me out of it. Was there anything from Rosario Dawson's performance that kind of took you out of it a little bit, or were you completely sold on it?
No, I was fully enthralled. I was so excited to see live action Ahsoka and how badass it looked. And I think the fact that they started with not a lightsaber battle, but getting to see her in action was sort of our first glimpse. I fully appreciated that. So getting to see the lightsabers in real life was it completely blew my mind. I was so excited. And I've sort of been preparing myself for a while, just mentally gearing myself up for seeing a live action Ahsoka Tano, knowing that she's not going to sound like Ashley Eckstein. She's not going to look like Ashley Eckstein. She's not going to look like her former variations and different designs. I just was ready for it to be a very different interpretation of a character that I love, and telling myself basically that I had to be open to that or I'm not going to have a good time. And I was really determined to enjoy that portrayal, which I ended up doing.
Yeah. And just to clarify, it's not the voice specifically. It's how Ashley would sound it would sound more comforting when she would speak. And Rosario would just sound more direct. That's where I kind of got hung up on. But other than those little nitpicks, and I admit they are nitpicks, I was sold on her. And I do know that it's a different character, it's a different actress, it's not going to be the same person. I understand that, but it's when I hear a voice, it's I'm listening for that degree, and it just takes me out just a little bit.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
I remembered what I was going to ask. Yeah, no, producer, where's our sound? Oh, I work the sound effects. I don't have a cheering crowd and trumpets. Although I heard it in my head. But you've played Damon once before for the title. Just based on that experience, how valuable was that experience in preparing for the upcoming match, or is it something that you got it and you just need to do it?
There's definitely some comfort in having been up there before. I really like the virtual speed round. I much prefer that to the live in-person version. So I'm optimistic in that sense. But I think it'll be good. I'm definitely thinking that, having been on stage before has been in that situation is definitely a valuable experience. But I think sitting here and playing a couple matches at home was probably even more valuable, just given where we are with the digital matches still being in play. Because this most recent one was by far like the most relaxed I've been playing a match, which was really nice to finally get to that point. Because even last year, just like sitting here in my bedroom, I was like shaking while I was writing my answers and trying not to look scared. So it ended up feeling a lot more comfortable this time around, which was good. So I think I'm in a good space for it.
We got a viewer question from YouTube here. If Laura could change one scene in a Star Wars movie, what would it be? An example would be Leia hearing Luke's voice saying, "Remember your training," when she opened her eyes in space.
That's kind of a cool ad. I sort of like that idea. I would probably just remove the Luke and Leia kiss in Empire. That's kind of my go-to thing that should be stricken from the record, I think.
What's it on the mouth?
I don't know. I mean, was it really that bad? I mean, they're both good-looking people, right? I mean, they're
It's a little
related.
yeah, I know.
I know at the time.
Very poor joke. I
And
feel
besides, we've had enough changes to the original trilogy. Let's keep it the way it is right now.
Oh,
fine.
I have to show this off. Ever since I got this right here, my friends. This right here. This contains the original theatrical version of New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi.
Oh.
The theatrical version. The one I used to watch when I was 5 years old, every day after school.
Yeah. Enjoy those creepy Ewoks. It's gonna be great.
I love that. I love it so much, and I was never a fan of those specialized editions and adding all that stuff. But here we got a couple minutes left. And I had forgot to tell you this, I think, Laura, but Ace had to work today. He wasn't able to be here. He was going to be here, and we were going to have a little crossover with you and he. But I want to talk to you a little bit about Force Toast podcast because you guys are doing great on that show. Why don't you tell us about that show and what you got going on with it and anything else you'd like to say?
Sure. So Force Toast to Star Wars Happy Hour is the audio podcast I do with my friend Alice, where the gist of it is that we drink wine and we talk about Star Wars. And basically we sort of have a structured show. It's where we have recurring segments. We tend to recap any new books or new episodes of any shows that are going on at the time. And then we always do trivia at the end of each episode, where we sort of quiz each other, or in situations like now where I'm the one that's sort of needing to stay up to par on trivia, will just quiz me sometimes. A lot of times our listeners will write in questions and they always do a killer job. So it's fun. When we don't have any, we write them ourselves or we do Trivial Pursuit just to keep things simple. But we just made our 54th episode. So we've been on the air for 2 years now. We release new episodes every other Tuesday. So we recently hit our 50th episode, and then we hit our 2-year anniversary in early February. So it's been really fun. We have a ton of fun doing it. It continues to be very rewarding, and I hope to keep it going for as long as we can.
Yeah, it sounds great. I've listened to a few episodes, and yeah, there's some wine drinking in there, and I must admit, the cussing is what I like the most, just because in my mind, there's nothing better than a couple of gals letting some F-bombs fly. I don't care what they're talking about. So I dig chicks who cuss. What can I say? It was great. It was great to have you on, Laura. Thank you so very much. Excellent match against Molly. Just stellar match.
Thank you.
And good luck in the title match coming up as well.
Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate having me on.
Yes, absolutely. Anytime whatsoever. Laura Kelly, everyone. She's great. That's her second time on this show. She's very generous with her time, and she's great to talk to about Star Wars and Schmoedown. So thank you very much, Laura. And now we got hard questions with this kind of a special edition. We had the pleasure, myself, Frenchie, and Double D here, of speaking with the Kristian Harloff this last week. We did a YouTube /stereo show I clipped out about 10 minutes from that that will be our hard questions. And what it is talking about the announcement he had made about the title matches, how they would be handled, some of the backlash, and then what is now going to be happening. So let's go on with this special edition of Hard Questions featuring Kristian Harloff. Thank you very much, Kristian, for joining us here. You dropped the big announcement about the title matches between faction members, and just so that there's no confusion, and could we hear it from you directly exactly what is going on with all of this and the decision that's been made?
Well, it's switched because people are morons. No, the reason why it's now here are the rules. The idea behind it was because, and I didn't understand any of the silliness in the group of like, well, if people are so good and they draft well, then you shouldn't punish people. I don't understand that. It's the whole point is if you're in first place and someone gets I don't know, Adam Collins is the champion, and then Mike Kalinowski makes it, he automatically gets, depending at that point, Collins would be the defending champion still. So that's 15 points that you're just giving a faction. So the idea was to say, okay, well, look, if we get to a place, because this is based on wrestling anyway, we've been doing triple threats forever. And so in order to do that, triple threats are worth 10 points anyway. So instead of just handing over something to the faction, the idea would be, okay, well, we'll put a triple threat in place. And look at someone like Jeff Snyder last year. Jeff Snyder, if Mike Kalinowski would have won last year, right? Let's say Mike Kalinowski and hell, Adam Collins was a champion. Mike Kalinowski and Snyder are in the finals, right? Kalinowski wins. Snyder already won 4 matches at that point. So wouldn't you also agree that Snyder at 4, as he is getting now a number 1 contender match, but you're like, okay, look, instead of just handing over 15 points, let's give a triple threat to Snyder, Kalinowski, and Collins, and then they can battle it out. What a main event that would be at the Spectacular. But because of all the hoopla and people don't get it, it was like, so what we're going to do instead is and I said to the managers, I go, look, you guys vote on it because it's going to be up to you. I washed my hands of the whole thing because my big thing is, had I not said anything at all, and this would have happened at the end, you guys don't deal with the managers. I do. So managers, what they would have said was, oh, this is unbelievable. They're just going to get points. Now I said to them in a text chain, I said, here's what you're going to do. You guys vote. And if you decide that if you are okay with if this particular scenario, which is going to be rare anyway, but if it happens, you guys are going to decide that you want to basically just reward somebody with points. And if you're cool with that and you guys all agree on it, then I'm washing my hands of it, and you've made the decision. So the managers, it wasn't a majority, but it wasn't unanimous, but it was the majority, and so that's what it is. However, what it does mean is throughout the season, if, for example, Mark Hanapic is waiting for a number 1 contender, Robert Parker gets himself to a number 1 contender shot, I will say to Kaiser at that point, I'm not handing you 7 points for free during the regular season. So here's what you can do. You got 2 choices. You can Parker can sit back, cash in on that shot after Mark Hanapic loses it, or if he decides he wants to cash in on it, we'll put 10 points on the board, and you can do a triple threat, and we'll put together another number 1 contender inner geekdom to figure it out. And so that's what the managers and I decided, and that's kind of how it's gonna do.
And for the triple threat match, that means you're gonna have 2 people from the same faction and 1 person not from the faction, right? So you have 2 shots out of 3 to still get a lot more points, but still a shot you won't get the points. Is that correct?
That's right. And when in the case of Mara, you got a chance to win potentially 11 points because that would be a title defense for her, or Parker with 10, or you throw it out. Let's say let's say Jesse Swift and Amaru Moses battle out. Jesse Swift wins the match, and then he battles somebody else and he builds his way up, Brandon Hanna or Zipper, and he builds his way up. And then it's like, okay, well, Jesse Swift right now is 2-0. So let's put him up against Chance Ellison. Winner of that will face The winner of that will. I'm just hypothetically 2-0, and Chance is 4-2 or whatever he is, and the winner of that will be in the triple threat. So then, okay, Chance wins, and now we have Chance versus Mara versus Parker for the Intergeekdom Championship in a triple threat during the regular season for 10 points, potentially 11 for Mara.
And this is good because it still gives a shot, but it balances out, right? So you get best of both worlds. You give a shot that have more points and a shot to someone else, so no one can really complain we're all hogging all the points, because it's really depending on your players how it plays out. So for me, that makes sense.
Totally, and it was so dramatic. And it was such a more dramatic way to play the season. As the managers voted the other way, and just weren't understanding it. So it's like, imagine if you're corruption, and you were in first place, and you have a 9-point lead, right? And you have a 9-point lead going into it, and then I don't know. Your corruption. Well, excuse me. Let's reverse that. Let's say that. The stars are in first place. And they have a 9-point lead. And Chance Ellison wins the tournament. So now their lead is cut to 5. Right? If you give them the automatic points, gone. The lead is gone. However, if you put, let's say now the stars are sitting back, 5-point lead. Chance is going to play Adam Collins, and in the triple threat is Bibiani, and the Quirky Mercer in last place. So now, as a faction, you are rooting for Bibiani to win the championship and win those 10 points. So corruption would lose the title, and lose the points in general. So it makes it so much more dramatic. But now it's like, okay, you basically can. The fans aren't going to understand. You could potentially now. What all the fans did in the Facebook group, and what the managers voted on. I don't want to hear complain about Blow is anticlimactic. You bet on it, fucker. For those people who were looking around saying, "Oh, they earned it." Wait when it's not dramatic, and then you'll come back and you'll go 100% guarantee.
Yeah, I'm definitely one of the people, and I'll admit, I don't fully understand it, and maybe that has a lot to do with it. And also, as you know, Kristian, I'm more into the traditional, so that's where my mind seems to be stuck at. So in my mind, I am one of those who is thinking, you drafted well, you played well, you set yourself up to be in that position to collect all those points with two faction members playing. In my mind, that's a well played kind of a moment. But like you just said, I'm like a lot of others. I don't understand it. As you're talking, I understand that it could be more dramatic if it's the way you're saying. And that is definitely my interest.
Yeah, because imagine you have a Colin Burrow versus Bateman. It's like
true, and that's the other thing that people don't understand. The other thing that people are saying, if those people earn their way up there, those are the ones who make it. You're taking out of consideration all the people that are going to fight their way through in the tournament and win 2 or 3 matches. Those people will also earn a shot. Like for example, go back to 2018 when the tournament was going on, and Merle and Draco got knocked out of the tournament, played against each other in order to get a number one contender shot against Mark in the spectacular. So that same type of situation would happen. Except this time it would put them into the actual championship match itself, and not just hand over points. And again, this is also something that is very. There's so much circumstance that has to happen in order for it to all play out. Right? Like there's nothing that's going to guarantee as good as Adam Collins that he's going to hold the title all the way through. Chance Ellison winning the tournament, or Mike Kalinowski or somebody. It just would defend just giving away that many points. And it's almost like, well, you should change the points. What is your fault? No, it's your fault for saying, well, the championships aren't worth that much anymore. So why do people care? All right, well, let's.
Oh, thank God. Oh, you're duped, James.
I don't know what it wasn't that bad on the other side. Okay, well, that was a learning experience.
What are you guys even talking about?
And this might say Jay Wade's usually wrong. All right.
No, seriously, what's going on? I'm missing something, dude. What am I missing?
You
Are
didn't
you
hear
sure?
that echo?
No, I heard nothing. That's what I was saying. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Maybe
I have
you
no
have it on. Maybe you should have muted the stereo. Maybe that's what we're hearing.
Yeah, maybe because that was horrible, bro.
Yeah,
Like,
it
at
was
one point,
bad.
I didn't understand what you guys were talking about. I had no clue whatsoever.
Yeah.
Well, inquire then.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking. I thought you meant. I don't even know. I don't even know.
No, learning experience.
Yeah.
We
Yeah, I don't.
apologize.
Yeah, I don't know. I was sitting here going, dude, these guys have lost their fucking minds. What are they? And I saw you, Dan. You're like this, and I'm like, what is he doing, dude? And Frenchie, like at one point, Frenchie has stood up and lit a cigarette and was like walking around his kitchen smoking a cigarette. And now I understand why. And I didn't have a clue what was going on.
It was not a cigarette, and I was not walking around the house, my friend.
Well, but my imagery made it sound better, right?
Yeah, but you just want to see me smoke a cigarette and go one-on-one and question and grill someone like it was a French detective. So that's just you.
Well, you are French, so it works out, you know. But yeah, people listening, I'm sorry about that. I had absolutely no idea that there was anything going on whatsoever. I'm just kind of here in my own little world, like listening to the playback, like, hey, this is great.
Now, do we have any stereo comments?
Yeah, we've got one here. And
okay. Before we play that, if there's other comments, we got a couple minutes, by the way. If you guys want to like reach out and tell anything you've heard during the episode or any other new questions, do not miss out and send it to us.
Yeah, let us know what you think about Mount Schmoedown, Mount Rushmore of Schmoedown. What was the first? Oh yeah, because you got me all riled up on the first about the Mount Schmoedown. But yeah, let us know. Let us know. Here we go.
So just one more quick thought here about the free for all. So 8 factions, each gets 5 competitors entered into the free for all to equal 40 competitors. I think, right? Just to clarify. And also that means no like big surprise returns of somebody that's not drafted to a roster. So like no Clark or Wolf or Rachel Cushing or anybody like that.
Correct. I think that's the play. It is definitely true that it's 5 competitors for each of the factions, and I think you're right that there's not going to be any surprises. Everyone who's been drafted into the league.
Well, the real surprise will be who is that 5th competitor going to be. Like most people, you have a clear top 4 for each faction, and then it's like, who's that 5th?
True.
So we'll see how that goes.
I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of rookies. Like in that 5th spot, just to try it out. Spot. Well, in Finstock's case, it's going to be more than one. But that being said,
Sam Levine, he has I think the same amount of rookies.
True.
Yeah,
he's got quite a few on there too. Keep sending in some comments, guys. We got
But like for the Den, is it Jader? Is it Peggy? Is it David Del Rio? Like they got a whole bunch of options. Besides the like quote unquote top 4.
I would go for Jader. That guy is 2-2 if not, or 2 what's his record?
2-1.
I don't know.
I think he beat Vejvoda and Brittany Young, and then lost to Tom.
Exactly. So he's 2-1. That guy, it's underestimated his knowledge of movies. He knows a lot, and that's one I find the record should have been 3-0 because he really knows where he's going, right? And I think you should give him a shot because he definitely is a much better player than people would think.
I want to ask a question about this Brother Loomis match. Because he put out a tweet and tagged me and some other people. Were any of y'all in that tagged also the gif of the head exploding?
No.
No.
You mean from that movie from what movie is that? Eraserhead?
I don't know. I don't know what it's from, but it's it's a GIF here. I'm pulling it up. It's a GIF of a guy and his head is exploding. It's quite graphic. It says they are lowering wool tariffs. Now, I've never had any interaction with Brother Loomis before. Never. I didn't even know.
Scanners.
And I'm very, very intrigued by the meaning behind that tweet, and I'm really interested in seeing his character and what he does as far as competition. But I don't think I've been this interested and hyped to see a character reveal for a very, very long time.
And I find Kristian was worried, right? At one point he said, being, making him not talk to any shows and, not exposing him would ruin his chances for draft. It didn't. And now I think it's doing what Kristian was setting off for, is to make a myth and not a man. And Loomis is definitely a myth in our heads. It's like, what the fuck is this character? We want to know more. And it's going to have an impact even more so now when he's going to be on screen. So Kristian did his job and really hyped up the myth and not the man.
Well, I don't know if you've seen him, but Frankie Alvarez seems like a very fun person to match up against him as his first match. He definitely is one with the words. So he's definitely, there's going to be a good back and forth between them character-wise besides play-wise in that match.
And we actually had Alvarez. Well, we actually had a couple of the rookies on usual suspect rookies on our cracking the code. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. It's on YouTube, on stereo. Freaking amazing.
We promise there's no repeat. There's no echo.
We got you still got time if you want to send in a comment or two. We got a little bit more time to kill here.
If not, I wanted to go back to Mount Schmoedown because I think we weren't finished with that shit. There's something to pull out. No, before
it is over, I will be civil now about this.
Is Harloff on your Mount Schmoedown, Frenchie?
Yeah, and this is a good point for me.
Does that mean Mark Ellis is too? I mean, he's co-creator. So if you're gonna put in my case, what I have to do, I have like subcategories. You got the involvement people. You got like the writers, the producers, the people like on desk commentary. So there's that bubble. Then you have the just purely like almost stats-based people, like the people who are over 90%, and that can intertwine very well with champions as well. Then you got character work. So for me, it's bubbles, and you fit a couple of players in. So I would have to think about it, but for the involvement bubble, Kristian Harloff is top one. There's a big case to be made for Mark Ellis. We got another comment here. But real quick before I play it, I view the Mount Rushmore, its presidents. In my opinion, if we're going to talk about the equivalent for Schmoedown, we're talking about players. There aren't any of the president's staff members or secretary of defenses or senators. There's no one but the presidents. And in my mind, the equivalent to that would be the players. Let's go to this message so that Frenchie can't try to shoot me down.
Evening from the UK, gentlemen. Is it me? Or is the Schmoedown amazing? Just like you two.
Oh, thanks.
It is not you. It is not you, dude. The Schmoedown is absolutely amazing. Yes.
Who was that from?
What's that?
Who was that from?
UK. And we got another one here.
So if you look at Mount Rushmo, as I call it, I think you can have different Rushmos for each division. So you have one for like overall Schmoedown and then another for like IG teams, etc. But I think if we're talking about overall Schmoedown, it's really hard to argue that the first two spots should be Merle and Roka. I think most people would agree about that. Like greatest overall player of all time, right? And greatest character potentially of all time with the Outlaw. Those are just my thoughts on it, because I think it's like you have to establish as this is the first or the greatest ever to do this unique thing. So then that's why a lot of people would say like Rachel, because she was the first ever female champion, IG, 2-time IG champion, teams champ, etc.
Okay,
Oh,
Dagan,
damn it.
I appreciate your thoughts there on that. I really do, but I'm going to go back to another little comparison here. Like I said, the Mount Rushmore is presidents. It's not the president's staff. It's not senators and congressmen. Okay, so the players are the presidents. And as you're saying, like different Schmoedown or Mount Rushmores or whatever. Now, so what? Are we going to start? How each state has its own Mount Rushmore, and each state's Mount Rushmore are the 4 top people who have contributed to that state.
Okay. Jay-Way, look, I love you.
It's not me that's doing.
All right. So look, I get it, but in your very linear OCD type of way, you're just associating to the actual thing of Mount Rushmore, and you're applying its rules of presidents only, and not no. But that's just because we're calling it the Mount Rushmore just to give it an importance. But we don't have to go about this rule. We can create what Mount Rushmore for Schmoedown is and do its own thing. We don't have to go with what the actual Mount Rushmore is. So I'm calling it the Hall of Fame. Ha ha.
That's completely different because you can get way more than 4 people in the Hall of Fame.
But
I would even put Makuga in the Hall of Fame. He ain't going on the Mount Rushmore. But
for me, my Mount Rushmore is a Hall of Fame. That's how awesome a lot of aspects of Schmoedown is, because and that's the thing, having a sport that is Kristian's brainchild, we have to also award the entertainment as much as the sport, right?
Well, for both ends, I put JT ahead of Makuga.
I would too. We got another comment here.
Hey guys, talking about the free-for-all, I think it's going to come down to Liz Shannon Miller, Ethan Irwin, and the Bibbs. But I think the MVP is going to be Rick Radis from the Finstock Exchange. Watch out for Bobby Finstock and his faction.
Was that Christensen?
Yes, it was.
Oh, nice. Hey, bro.
I don't know. I don't know about that. I'm still stuck on the whole. You're crazy, Frenchie. You're crazy.
Yes,
I love you to death, man. I mean, but you're crazy. I don't know.
I'm not disputing that.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a difference between the Hall of Fame and a Mount Rushmore.
For me, no, because at Mount Rushmore, if you can only pick 4 people, you would have to do 2 or do hybrids, because we have to disservice multiple aspects of the sport. And what Kristian's creating is entertainment and sport all into one. So for me, instead of you always using the Mount Rushmore, type of ranking, if we want to do a ranking that's a bit more, reflective of what Kristian's doing, it should be more of a structured thing that multiple types of people that wouldn't necessarily be in a Mount Rushmore could still, shine out. That's how I do my list, because if not.
Yeah. And on that note, we are come to our time of plugs. So what we're going to do is we're going to go around the horn here, except we're going to skip Frenchie, and we're going to go to Dan, and then we're going to go to ASG, and then we're going to go to me, and then we're just.
So I don't know what else you go back to me after. Okay, perfect. All right.
Okay,
all right.
Actually, we will start with Frenchie from Schmoes. For real, man. Thank you for all the work you do here. It's a blast. What do you got going on your channel and elsewhere?
Yes, sir. So you can find me on Schmoes of the North on YouTube, also the Frenchie on stereo. And right now, there's not much really. Well, we do have an announcement. I won't make the announcement here, but there is a big changes to come on Schmoes of the North. Do not miss out, and check out our next episode on Friday. We will have a special guest on to announce whatever we're planning here. So do not miss that.
Sounds good. Be sure to tune in for that. Double D, Dan Dolinsky.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter and on Stereo at Dan Dolinsky. Simple as that. You can find me here every Saturday with Frenchie and Jay talking. Speaking of Schmoedown, running the numbers for them and trying to explain them the numbers, but I fail every week. But I don't give up.
And ASG from Let's Get Ready Network.
Yes, so you can find me on Let's Get Ready Net. We have a website. Check that out. You'll find me on the Gold Standard whenever the FCL gets going. We'll be doing the after show for that. You can find me on Tuesday, I want to say, battling this guy in Schmoe the Money. And you can find me on Wednesday at, I forget what they're called, Feature Length Productions, something like that. They do fantasy film fights every Wednesday where you draft movies based on a theme. Their theme on Wednesday will be best third film in a series, and yeah, it'll be a draft with 4 to 5 people of those movies.
You're going down, bro. By the way, you're going down. I respect your opinion. You ain't holding up.
Yeah, you'll have to tune in and see what happens, everybody. Maybe someone will take Frenchie down and put him in his place. I will one of these days on Frenchie's Corner. I shall prevail one time.
By the way, you're the one that Kristian said that he never agrees on. So,
I think I might have a good shot at Kristian agreeing with me on the question from Frenchie's Corner about the speed round. So I don't know, maybe, but you guys can follow me on the Twitter at jwade1134. That's the letter J WADE 1134. The same handle on Stereo. At the Jcast Network on Twitter, the same handle on Stereo. And this was our second time doing this show on Stereo. Now it's live on Stereo as well as YouTube at this same time every Saturday. And until next week, everyone have a great and safe one. You want to hear something funny? The mic wasn't on that whole time.
No way.
Yeah, for real.
Oh, wow.
So smooth.